Mr. Giorgio Cafiero is a professor at Georgetown University and the CEO of Gulf State Analytics. Professor Cafiero is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, good to see you and thank you very much for joining us at this hour. This looks like a double-edged sword situation. America is doubling its assault on the Houthis, and the Houthis have vowed to continue their attacks on Israel ships in the Red Sea until they stop the war in Gaza. So what is that one thing that can bring both the US and Yemen to calm down and even possibly talk?
Yeah, thank you. Great to be on your program. Obviously, the situation in the Red Sea in Yemen escalating. The Trump administration's decision to attack this oil terminal signals huge escalation on Washington's part. I think that the only real way to bring lasting security to the Red Sea and to end the Houthi maritime attacks effectively would be for a ceasefire in Gaza. The Trump administration obviously is not putting pressure on Israel to achieve a ceasefire right now. So I think that the Red Sea is going to remain a very insecure, very volatile body of water for the foreseeable future. The Trump administration seems to think that if they really just double down on the failed policies of the Biden administration, that they're going to have some success in terms of achieving quote unquote deterrence over Ansar Allah. I'm quite skeptical that this is going to work.
Professor Cafiero, there is the Iran angle to what is happening in Yemen or in West Asia. If the nuclear talks do not yield any results, what's going to happen in this region and especially Yemen?
Well, there's no doubt that obviously the number one international backer of the Houthis is Iran. And I think we all know that over the years, Iran has leveraged its ties with the Houthis to counter regional and international foes. I think in the event that there is some sort of a breakthrough and the JCPOA 2.0, if you will, is reached, that could open the door to not a good relationship between the US and Iran. I don't think there's going to be any rapprochement between the two countries, but I think that could at least open the door to a greater dialogue between Washington and Tehran about non-nuclear issues. And I think Yemen could certainly be one of those. But if the nuclear talks are to collapse in acrimony, potentially if there is an extreme scenario whereby the US or Israel launches attacks against Iran, I have no doubt that Tehran would certainly leverage its relationship with Ansar Allah as a way of countering the US and Israel. I think in light of the weakening of the axis of resistance last year with severe blows that Hezbollah suffered in the fall of the Syrian government of Assad, the Houthis right now stand out probably as the strongest leg within the axis of resistance. So yeah, I certainly think that if there is going to be a military confrontation between the US and Iran that might follow a collapse of the nuclear talks in Muscat and Rome, the Houthis would probably be very relevant to that. But hopefully there will be a diplomatic breakthrough and we will see tensions between the US and Iran decrease, but time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. Professor Cafiero, and very quickly, we've seen a sort of blame game between Yemen and the United States over the downing of the MQ-9 Reaper drones. What would be your reaction to that? What does this indicate?
Well, over the years, really going back to 2015 when the Saudi-led military campaign against the Houthis started, Ansar Allah has gained many, many capabilities. Technologically, the movement has become more and more advanced. We've seen this from the Houthis before. They clearly have the means to shoot down enemy drones, and it's really a sign of the capabilities of the Houthis militarily speaking. And I think it really speaks to the extent to which this rebel movement has evolved over the years into a very capable fighting force. And it's not easy for the US, as we know, to achieve some sort of decisive victory over the Houthis. As I said, it's a very disciplined fighting force with capabilities that seem to be advancing with every year that passes by.
Professor Kafiero, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for you making time for us today and for talking to us today.
Thank you.